The podcast of the century, talking about noise, is here.
Welcome to the podcast.
I'm your host, Art Moore.
I'm your other host, Eric Hansen.
What is up? How are you doing?
I'm good, Art.
Yeah, I'm feeling really awesome today. This is a great day.
You always begin so positive.
I know. I try to be very positive in my life.
It's my goal to bring you down.
Yeah, you try. You try to bring me down. But there's a hint of positivity in you that you can't stop.
No. Go listen to our catalog of episodes. It's a downward spiral, and by the end, you're just like, whatever, man.
Oh, my goodness.
Let's just end this. Are those new headphones?
These are new headphones, yes. So we talked about
They look super
headphones.
professional.
Yeah, they do look very super professional. And these are the Heil Pro 3s. And
Heil.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know why I'm drawn to the Heil stuff, but they sound fantastic. They even have a switch on the side here for phase. So if I want to check phase,
No way.
I just do that, and
That's
I'm
awesome.
already checking phase, and then I just click it back, and then I'm gone.
Yeah, for all the listeners, no, you could have been clicking something completely random.
Here it goes.
This is Art's new toy.
So yeah, I like the headphones. They seem to be quite even and not too hyped, but I also don't feel like I lose anything in the bass, which is nice. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I've just been listening to reference tracks. I haven't mixed anything on them, but I don't really mix a lot on headphones anyway.
Yeah. I use headphones for tracking,
Yeah.
rarely for mixing.
Yeah, well, sometimes like if it's late at night, I'm like, I just want to get levels right, and I want to get like a basic idea. But on my other headphones,
You're one of those, you wake up at like 2 a.m. and you're like, oh, was the level right? I just don't know. I need to go downstairs and check.
I gotta go check, get the headphones out. But I had it set pretty well so that the headphones translated pretty well to the monitors and back and forth. But I moved the monitors, I got a new desk, and now I got new headphones, so I've got to tweak a little bit. And
Which
see
you have a very
what's
nice
going
desk now.
Yeah, it's super nice.
It's got the rollout option for a keyboard or mixing.
It's got several
console.
rollout options.
Yeah.
It's got a whole part of the desk on the top that you can pull closer to yourself, and you can have like a control surface up there or a console or something, and then your monitor, your computer monitor,
A little mini fridge for the Jim Beam.
and then it has a whole shelf just for a full-sized piano keyboard.
Yeah.
Right there, and then underneath, yet still, is a pull-out shelf for the keyboard and mouse.
That's just awesome.
So, and it's got like space for,
It gives me goosebumps.
I don't know, like maybe 50 different rack units, 1U rack units.
Holy cow.
So, I mean, it's all over the place. So I'll do a little special on that and kind of talk about that a little bit, but it
Very
way
cool.
outdoes my IKEA desk that I've been using for years with a modified shelf system for the monitors, and which worked well. It wasn't a bad desk. But this is much, 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 much nicer.
Okay, so quick side note. I don't know why this just came to my head, but my kids watch this stupid show on Netflix, Barbie, right? And this Ken character walks in and goes, "It looks like a Swedish furniture store threw up in here." My kids bust up laughing. And then they stop and go, "Dad, what's a Swedish furniture store and why would it throw up?" It's like, why were you laughing? We don't know. It was funny. What's a Swedish furniture store?
Yeah.
I'm like, guys, it's IKEA.
Kids do that all the time. They laugh at stuff they don't understand, and then they need to ask, why was that funny?
Why was that funny? I'm not sure, but that was really funny. I loved it. Anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Yeah. That's what I watch in my downtime is Barbie. I'll admit it.
Well, there's nothing to be, there's a lot to be ashamed by that, but, it's totally fine. I think there's some interesting stuff that we should talk about. And one that's just that, hey, there are more of you listening to us out there. And we're really excited about that.
We are glad to add you to the cult of noise.
That's right.
Welcome to the team.
Yeah, so if you are a new listener, welcome, and we're glad to have you on board. You're apparently making some music, and if you ever want to contact us, ask us a question, ask us, whatever, we'll answer it on the show.
Team Eric, Team Art.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll start a Twitter war.
Ooh,
Hashtag
that's
Team Eric,
right.
hashtag Team Art.
That sounds great. We'll do that. We'll come up with a segment that'll be solely on Twitter. And we'll talk about the interface there, the interaction there, and go from there.
So, well, yeah.
So if you want to follow us on
nice.
Twitter, I actually have been getting a ton of new Twitter followers. I think
Good for
because
you.
of the show, which is awesome.
Good for you.
I am at Artmore Studios, and Eric is at I Am the Swoop.
Right. I need to be doing more of that stuff.
Well, if you're a Twitter guy, you're a Twitter guy. If you're not, you're not.
You just weren't born
as we've
for it.
discussed, you're like, you do way too much on social media. I'm like,
No, you go in spurts. So you will be like, oh, I haven't done anything. And then you'll drop like 20 posts in one day and then do nothing for a week. And then you'll be like, dude, check out this picture of my food. Isn't this great?
Yeah.
Social media is awesome. And then you disappear from the planet for a week.
Disappear. There's nothing from me.
Right. And so I'll see like 30 posts come up, art. I'm like, okay, I'm ignoring you now.
I don't think I do like 30 in a row, but I have been watching that specific element of it, of like, I'm sitting at my computer and no one's bothering me. That's when I have time for social media, is like when I'm sitting down and no one's bugging me.
We need to trademark a new phrase like social media vomiting or social
media logorrhea. That's all you need to say right there.
logorrhea.
Logorrhea is a vomiting of words. It is the upchuck.
Yeah, that just doesn't sound catchy though. I need something catchy, snappy.
You want something catchy?
Need something, quick.
All right. Well, I'll let you keep working on that.
Social media upchuckarama. No, that's just not working. It's just not coming.
Oh man, that's too funny. Well, since we're talking about new stuff, head over to the website. There's a new article up there, a name-dropping gear review for the Rode M5s, which I'm particularly proud of.
I love Rode microphones.
Yeah, I have. I didn't even realize it, but I have like 4 or 5, and I was like, whoa, I didn't remember buying these. This is awesome. So anyway. All right.
Let's move on to news. So Art, it's my duty, I have decided, on this podcast to find news that both either shocks and or delights and or disgusts you.
Okay. All right.
Or like something you haven't heard before that you're like, huh. Or something you're like, oh.
Well, if you're going to talk about the VMAs,
ooh.
I'm going to go,
Whatever. We were going to do a point-by-point dissection of our favorite music videos.
Yeah, that's right.
No.
What?
So
weren't we going to do that?
Is it just me? Or are there a lot of really weird music videos?
No, there are quite a few really strange music videos. But I think a lot of them, too, just kind of like...
But
I think the strange ones kind of rise to the top at the VMAs, honestly. I don't know.
I just watch whatever pops up on YouTube these days. And I'm like, oh.
I'm like looking for indie artists on YouTube.
I know. It's true. We've gone totally indie, totally alt rock stuff.
Yeah, like I don't want...
Like my pick of the week, super indie alt rock stuff.
if it's shot on something higher than an iPhone camera, I'm not sure I want to see it.
That's so awesome.
I'm just saying.
We're pretty sad. Okay, anyway, so we're going to start with some news. We enjoy talking about streaming services for some reason. We're masochists. Anyway, as you may know, the Apple Music, right?
Yep.
Coming
That's a
up.
thing.
That's a real thing. Okay. So Apple announced 11 million trial subscription signups in 5 weeks. That's just 5 weeks.
That's so amazing.
More than half of Spotify's paid international user base. Right. So in 5 weeks, they hit half of what Spotify has done in close to, 6 years?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now, this appears to be just another streaming service. What I like about this particularly that we can talk about is that Apple has created a free Beats One online radio station that focuses solely on new music.
Ooh.
Right? And it broadcasts 24/7, obviously, because it's online. when you're online, you can broadcast 24/7 because if people listen, great. If people don't, it's still there.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, just go for it. I mean, we're not going to broadcast 24/7.
We should. we should try it.
I think we
Talking About Noise marathon
for
live
24
broadcast
hours.
where we try and talk for 24 hours.
That sounds great.
So I told you,
we'd have to do that on video.
You remember a long time ago, there were two DJs that did that. They tried a 24-hour set.
Yeah, we talked about that.
And I watched part of the video, and towards the end, it was like they were loopy. They were
just insane.
Just completely on acid. It definitely lost the quality by the 24th hour. They were like, we're almost there. I love my job so much. So anyway, quote, "It's exciting," says Glassnote Records president Daniel Glass. You see what he did there?
Oh, okay.
Glassnote Record, Daniel Glass.
It's kind of like my studio name, Artmore Studios.
Oh. No, yours is far more straightforward.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I was like,
true.
Glass Note. Ha ha. Anyway, everyone's watching them on Music Discovery. Quote, "When Drake wanted a high-profile debut in July, he chose his own Beats One show, a venue that had not even existed a month before. Beats One is meant to promote Apple Music on-demand streaming, but is so focused solely on new music." So I kind of like that idea, right? This radio station that's, hey, this is all just new stuff. These are new artists, stuff you haven't heard before. The response so far, very, very positive on the Beats One. So looks like Apple Music is headed in the right direction. I got a thing on TuneCore. They were like, hey, sign your music up so it gets on Apple Music. And I haven't done it yet. Maybe I should.
You should probably do that. Yeah.
I probably should these days.
How many did they say? 11 million?
11 million in five weeks.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my first part of the news.
Sounds awesome. If I had an Apple device, I would try the Apple Music, but
yeah.
Alas, I'm on Android.
We both don't have Apple. We've gone to nerddom.
Well, and
we prefer Androids.
I'm getting to the point where I'm getting pretty frustrated with my Android phone.
Oh no, you're going to be one of those.
I got pretty close to just running over to Verizon and saying, "That's it. Take this thing away from me. I can't do it anymore."
What would you?
What's that thing? The ePhone? Give me the ePhone. Give me one of those ePhones or iPhone. And the iPhone. Give me an iPhone.
ePhone. You're going to be one of those obnoxious.
I heard you could swipe with this. What does that mean? Where do I swipe my credit card? What am I doing here?
Just really? Kidding. Where would you go besides Android?
To Apple. I would have to go to an iPhone.
Oh.
And I just...
I didn't care much.
Yeah.
So I loved the iPhone for a long time. Used it. I was an Apple person.
Right.
And then one day, it was like the spell was broken. I was like, oh, I don't like Apple anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it was instantaneous. And then I was like, I like other stuff.
Yeah, you like other stuff. I remember when
you see other
liked
computers.
Other stuff, and you were like, "Dude, I'm building a PC for gaming."
I don't want to just be with one computer my whole life. I want to, see who else is out there.
You're not ready for a monogamous relationship with a multi-billion-dollar corporation.
A little bit with some other corporations.
Sounds good.
Anyway, so my next piece of news, unless you've got a piece, Art.
No, go for it.
Okay, so I'm really excited about this. Okay. Hip hop writer Lin-Manuel Miranda has created a Broadway hit with his musical called Hamilton. Okay, so follow me on this. This is tight. Okay, Alexander Hamilton, right, who wrote the Constitution,
right?
Founding
father,
one of the founding fathers.
That's right.
Right. He did this. It's a musical, but it's done in hip hop.
This sounds like a funny bit on
it does.
30 Rock.
This sounds like something that would just be like a horrible joke to start out, but this is a hip hop show.
A hip hop Broadway show.
Based upon the life of Alexander Hamilton, who was a crazy, awesome revolutionary.
Oh, my goodness.
And so, right, we all know that him and Burr, right? How was it?
Keep talking. Keep using the word.
Hamilton, Alexander Burr. No, Alexander Hamilton and Burr. His last name is Burr.
Okay.
They got in the duel, right? Alexander Hamilton died in a duel from a pistol shot. Seriously, you don't know this?
Well, I mean, I knew that. I'm just.
Everybody needs to go watch Drunk History right now on YouTube. Why does Milton Berle keeps coming to me? My brain is just messing with me today. Alexander Hamilton and Burr. Anyway,
right, we'll look it up.
Anyway, you look it up. Okay, so get this, okay? Okay, Miranda, whose parents could rarely afford to take him to Broadway, has taken steps to democratize Hamilton's audience by offering lotteried front row tickets for $10 every night. The median Broadway theater goer is a white lady between 45 and 55 years old who has an income of $250,000 a year. So he says, we have a unique opportunity with people who feel like musicals aren't for them to say, this is for you. Right? Which I also felt like, we don't get into musicals at all. I'm not a musical person, but it might be fun to talk about this. Right. So I brought some clips so we can listen to some of it. It kind of sounds like, definitely, it's got the hip-hop influence. Also sounds a little bit like some Rage Against the Machine stuff, which I really like. Okay. So Miranda and his team have gone further with Hamilton, casting actors and actresses of color to join him on stage in the roles of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Burr, and other long-dead white people. Quote, this is what our country looks like, and the audience accepts it, Miranda says. In so many ways, the people we call the Founding Fathers are these mythic figures, but they were people. I think the casting of the show humanizes them in a way because they're not these distant marble creatures. So I like the idea, too, of just being like, hey, this is America as the way it is today, right? So if we're going to have a black George Washington, deal with it. And then you put your sunglasses on and you say, deal with it.
Deal with it.
I love it.
Hey, I think that's very cool.
So anyway, I brought some clips because we got to listen to this. Last bit of info that I wanted to tell you. Okay. The production, which traces Alexander Hamilton's life story, took 6 years to write. Miranda says he took 6 years because he felt like it was a passion project. And he says, you can only take this long if you're absolutely in love with your subject. And so he read a book on Alexander Hamilton, was like, this story is amazing. Has anyone done a show on this? And no one has done a show on it. So he wrote script after script after script and was like, it's just not working. Took him 6 years to get this thing going.
Wow.
But he stuck to it, which I was like, okay, I feel a little bit better about that song that I was writing for 2 weeks. Didn't work out, and I just canned it. I'm going back to that song.
All
Thank
right.
you for the inspiration, Miranda.
I like it.
So anyway, this is going to be a clip. It's just one clip, but it has 3 pieces that are part of the show.
Okay, so we'll get them one right
Dig
after
it.
another.
Corruption's such an old song that we can sing along in harmony, and nowhere is it stronger than in Albany. There's colonies, economies.
Talk less.
What?
Smile more. Don't let them know what you're against or what you're for.
Take the bullets out your gun. The bullets out your gun. We move undercover and we move as one. Through the night we have one shot to live another day. We cannot let a stray gunshot give us away.
So anyway,
that sounds interesting.
You can only do
a good show.
little, but yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. I was like,
that does sound really cool.
Hip hop about Alexander Hamilton? This is too much fun. This is too cool. That last one sounds like Rage Against the Machine.
A little bit, yeah, definitely.
So I was like, I have to see this. So I haven't decided which child I'm gonna sell yet, but I'm gonna sell a child and head to New York, and I'll give you the full review.
Do a little hitchhiking to get there.
Oh no, my children are gonna be worth a lot.
Oh, okay, all right.
Or a kidney. I don't know. I can't decide which one. That's all the news I've got.
All right, let's move on. As you may have known, this a couple weeks ago, the new version of a Reaper 5.0 came out. And Eric and I are big fans of Reaper. We've been using it for several years now, and this new version is packed with a whole bunch of new features. I was able to catch up with John Tidey of the Reaper blog and do an interview with him. And here it is. Thanks so much for joining us here in this interview. I'm with John Tidey. How are you doing, John?
I'm awesome. Thanks for having me on.
John, you are one of the hosts of the Home Recording Show.
Yep.
which is like my favorite podcast of all time.
It's a lot of fun to do that podcast.
Yeah.
We've really, really slowed down in recent years, but it's reached so many people, and we get feedback about it all the time, and I know that it's helped a ton of people. So proud to be a part of that show.
Yeah, it's really fantastic. Especially, I remember your interview with, Ryan Bruce about reamping. There's one thing I've learned about the from the home recording show. It's reamp everything, even your vocals. Just reamp it, and it'll probably solve your problems. So, but yeah, and you have several other websites that you run. Audio Geek Zine.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah. So that was like my first. That was my first website in the sort of home recording pro audio sort of field, and that's kind of been the start of everything that I've been doing related to audio. So I started that right out of recording school, and that led to meeting Joe Gilder and guys like that, and Ryan from the pod. We started the home recording show together, and all that kind of stuff, and everything's just kind of branched off from there. And that's the website that gets the least amount of updates these days, and all that kind of stuff. But
Isn't that
I'd
funny
like to do
how-
more with
yeah.
it. Yeah,
Isn't that funny how like the thing that you started first, it just kind of, I think that's the thing that just kind of it's stable, so it doesn't get as much attention.
yeah.
Yeah.
I also have my my sort of production, my sales page. If someone wants to hire me, they go to epicsounds.ca. And I do editing, mixing, mastering, pretty much anything, like lessons locally and online. You can hire me for pretty much anything you would like me to do, and I'll always do my best on it.
Yeah. So the lessons are primarily mixing and mastering kind of lessons?
Or Reaper instructions.
Oh, yeah.
And Reaper Pro Tools, but general home studio troubleshooting stuff. People, would like me to like make their gear list, or like tell them what to buy, or solve various computer problems and stuff like that. So there's an hourly charge for that. And it's cool because I get to meet people with so many different types of backgrounds, experience levels, and stuff like that, and it's fun.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think that's one of the things I love about the audio world is like just the vast amount of different backgrounds. And my background is in classical, and in fact, I have like this huge missing chunk of like developmental rock history in the 90s because I was just developing classically, and I didn't start really listening to rock until college. And so
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
So Eric, our other co-host, he's always chiding me for that. He's like, "What, you don't know this band? They were huge in the 90s." It's like, I was in a practice room in the 90s. So anyways, it's just funny. But
I also run a drum editing service, or guitar and bass percussion pocketing service called BeatFix. And that's at beatfix.com. And it has 2 X's in the name. So I work with indie artists and small studios from all over the world. They just email me the files, I fix them, send them back, and they love it.
that's so cool. And all that editing is done manually, right?
Yeah,
if I remember, that's what you're a fan of. You like to do that stuff.
I'm not a fan of anything that uses an algorithm, like to detect the transients and to split it and quantize it. I don't do that, and I don't use stretch markers or elastic audio sort of tools if I can help it.
Right.
Sometimes it'll sound fine, but for drums, you don't want to time stretch everything by default. Just a cut and a crossfade sounds the best.
Yeah.
So it's time consuming, but it's worth it, and that's why I charge more than everyone else.
Right. Well, I mean, time consuming is one thing, right? When it's done right, it saves time, in my opinion. Like, that's what I found. It's like, I do the same thing ever since I've listened to you tell me that I should do it that way. Right. I've done it manually, and also like tuning vocals as well. I always do that manually because you get it done once and it's right, and it just works better. So that's awesome. Very cool.
Is that it? And also the Reaper blog.
And the main reason you're here today, the Reaper blog. So tell us a little bit about the Reaper blog.
The Reaper blog started by Russ Hughes. who is now doing ProToolsExpert.com. And I always get the dates wrong on this, but I think it was 2009 or something like that. Pro Tools 8 was between Pro Tools 8 and 9, and everyone was really angry at Avid, and Russ decided to like have a look at Reaper and kind of, figure out what Reaper could do that Pro Tools was not able to do at the time. Mm-hmm. So things like faster than real-time bouncing and unlimited tracks and VST plugins and all these. There's so many things that Reaper can do that Pro Tools at the time couldn't do. And there's a lot of things that it still can't, that's still more flexible and everything. But anyways, he started a website, and it kind of, he updated, he did a few updates and then kind of forgot about it. He let me take over. I think it was 2011 when I took over. And then, I was pretty busy with it, and then I backed off a bit. And then this year, and kind of like the last year, I've been really into teaching people Reaper and getting people excited about it, and making lots of tutorial videos and growing the YouTube channel and doing an email newsletter and all this kind of stuff. So I really do think it's the best DAW out there. And if you've worked with Logic and Cubase and Pro Tools and you're just frustrated because it's so inflexible, it doesn't work, it's not open to changing how it works for the way you want to work, Reaper can do that with custom actions, with all these keyboard shortcuts that you can customize. Everything the mouse can do, you can modify. It takes a lot of time to set that stuff up, but the freedom is just so great, and I think it's totally worth it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I came from a Linux background, so I was a Unix systems admin in college. And the whole thing with Linux is everything is customizable. You can make it do what you want to. And Reaper, as I opened it up and I saw all the things I could do, I just kind of fell in love with it. Like right away, I was like, oh, this is what it's supposed to feel like. This works. It's nice. And the other thing too is just that I came from Sonar, and I had done Pro Tools and then Cubase and then Sonar. And as I was coming from Sonar, it was so much more optimized. It was so much more fast and efficient. I loved it about that.
There's a lot of things that attracted me to it at first. It was how fast it opened, and I could use all my VST plugins instead of being limited to RTAS plugins. And when I move an item, I can see the waveform move. I don't have to wait until I stop moving it.
Right.
And I could click and drag to move the contents of an item. So that just totally changed my editing workflow for the better. After that, it was just a matter of digging in, getting the keyboard shortcuts the way I like, getting the way the mouse zooms and scrolls the way that makes sense to me, which was Pro Tools' way, essentially. But,
right. And my way is totally different. Like, I can't stand the Pro Tools way. It drives me nuts.
I hate the defaults in Reaper. So, or most of the defaults, they don't make any sense, I think. But
yeah, if you want to see, this is for our listeners, if you want to go see some of John's very specific ways he sets things up, he actually helps the other host of the home recording show, Ryan, set up his system for Reaper. I don't know if he completely made the switch from Pro Tools, but he was starting to kind of play around with it. And that's a great video to watch. It's like an hour and a half long. Is that right?
Yeah, it's about an hour. That was edited down a little bit, but basically that was Ryan's first day using Reaper, kind of semi-officially. It was before he had upgraded his system, and within a month he was mixing in surround sound on it and not using Pro Tools almost at all. He was using Pro Tools to export the stems and get projects from other people, but he's doing all the mixing in Reaper and recording when he needs to.
That's
and
awesome.
He's totally switched from like home studio, like Project Studio to on-set audio recording.
Kind of location
for
sound,
films
right?
Yeah, for TV and film.
Yeah.
So, and a couple of years ago, he never would have thought that that's what he'd be doing every day.
Oh man, that's so cool. It's so interesting to see how careers kind of progress in sound and where you end up. Well, Reaper 5 came out, and honestly, I'd been kind of following the betas a little bit, but it totally took me by shock. Kakos doesn't really do a lot of PR or advertising.
None.
And one day, it just showed up on my Facebook feed, and it was like, Reaper 5 is out today. And I'm like, seriously? I had really no idea that the beta was so far along that it was almost there, and so I downloaded it. Let's talk about some of your favorite new features. And you have a video on the Reaper blog about some of the new features that come up. So I suggest everyone go watch that as well.
Yeah, there's a tour of all the new features, and I think that's about half-hour long. Yeah, there's a lot of new features, but nothing huge. It's there's no new plugins, and the new interface is just a theme. But again, like speaking to the power and the flexibility of Reaper, all the big updates are in that kind of thing. So adding a script editor for Lua and EEL scripting languages built in it kind of shows you how much the developers value the customization and getting people involved with kind of writing the program to make it better. So it's weird that the developers give us tools to develop the program rather than trying to fulfill every single feature request. It's kind of strange.
It's strange and beautiful, really.
Yeah.
From a Linux background, I love that aspect of it, of being able to change it and add a workflow possibility that didn't exist, and now it's just one button for me. I love that.
Yeah, I think to the average person, if they compare version 4 to 5, it looks very similar. It's the same amount of plugins. There's no included sample library and stuff. Things that you expect in other programs, like when there's a paid update, you get all this stuff, and there has to be this huge feature list. And a lot of the stuff is like bug fixes, more actions, there's new features like VST3, which I don't really think has been a good thing, to be honest, because none of mine work very well.
Oh, they don't?
No.
I only have a few plugins that are VST3 compatible. They're all the Stillwell plugins, and I kind of go back and forth between VST2 and 3 and kind of play with those to try to see what's going on.
Other than sidechaining, which was possible in VST2, there's not really any benefit to VST3. And I bet the devs are they said VST3 would not be coming for the longest time. Like they said, we're not going to bother with that because it's not any better. It's not going to sound different. Most of the features can be worked around just by developing either a special version that has side chains of the plugins, all that kind of stuff. And then they put it in, and then it's not working very well. So they're, I'm sure that they're regretting putting it in a way. I would think that they are.
Well, at some point they do have to put it in. I mean, it's got to be put in sometime, and
everyone asks for it.
Everyone moves forward. Everyone's stepping forward, but yeah, everyone asks for it. It's got to be put in there sometime.
Yeah, it's like everything's got to be 64-bit. Everything's got to be. It's like what next year everyone's going to be asking for 128-bit mix bus. I'm just running into clipping so bad,
Yeah,
infinity's not enough.
Infinity's not enough. Okay, that's going to be the catchphrase for this episode. I love that. Infinity's not enough.
Yeah. But there are to be critical about them, the developers and the program. There are a lot of half-finished things, which is unfortunate, but everything works well enough. There's always going to be bugs and things that they can improve on. It's just a matter of I think because the 5 guys that work on Reaper are probably creative type people, and maybe not they're not checklist sort of people. They will work on things in bursts and then release it and then work on something else. And I think that's kind of how I work myself. So if I get an idea for a song, I want to work on it as much as possible, and then I'll get stuck, or it'll be good enough or whatever. And I think they're similar to that. So that's why we'll see like lots of updates on one small thing, a couple bug fixes in other areas, and then something totally different for 6 months. But I mean, it's so great that I paid $60 and I got like 5 years out of that license. It's so awesome. I can't even imagine how much money I would have spent to stay up to date with Pro Tools.
Yeah,
for all those years.
Pro Tools, Sonar, Cubase, any of them, right? I mean, there's constant updates. I remember I was on Sonar 6. This is years ago. And the Sonar 7 came out, and it says, finally optimized for audio. And I was like, are you kidding? Wait, the version I paid $500 for wasn't optimized for audio? And, that's when I started looking at Reaper really seriously. And I love the fact that, it feels more like the open software of the Linux side of like, hey, it's it's nasty, it's yucky, there's some bugs here, but at least you're getting lots of updates constantly.
Yeah. There's so many updates, and some points it'll be like, it could be a couple times a month, but if you're following the betas, it's like every couple days.
Right.
So they're working on 5.01 right now, and there's and those little things, those little updates aren't always bug fixes. Sometimes they'll sneak in new features, like halfway through version 4 they added stretch markers, so elastic audio.
Yeah,
Reaper.
And that's a huge thing that everyone got for free.
Yeah,
that's a big thing.
That they didn't advertise at all. So if you hear about Reaper features, it's probably because of me.
Yeah,
and the Reaper blog.
Exactly.
and if you follow them on Facebook, it's actually me running it. So yeah,
I didn't realize you were running the Facebook page either. So they don't even. Did you set it up yourself, or did you just ask them if you could run it for them?
No, a friend of mine. I guess he signed, like he registered it, or he started the page. He offered it to them, and I guess they didn't reply. He said, "Hey, do you want to run this or help me run this?" So I'm doing that.
Nice, that's awesome.
That's why my blog gets promoted there so much.
Yeah, I did notice that. I was like, man, they really like the Reaper blog. I mean, it's not an official blog, but it's really nice that they're doing that. If
you look at their new website, up on the resources button, it says the unofficial Reaper blog with a link to me.
Wait, but it's on the website.
It is on the website.
That's crazy. I'm looking it up right now. That's amazing. So resources and the unofficial Reaper blog. Oh, wow. Look, it comes right up. That's awesome. Yeah. To make it on the website like that.
I asked them a couple of years ago to put me on, and it does do well for traffic, actually. So I'm happy I did ask them. But it was just funny that they call it unofficial. I didn't ask them to make it unofficial. I would want it to be official, but
Yeah. Well, you get what you get.
Well,
right?
Yeah.
So real quick, let's talk about the new theme of Reaper. And it is really just a theme. I brought it up and I looked at it and I was like, nope, not happening for me. And I went right back to my old theme. And then I watched one of your videos and you were like, okay, hold on. You're going to like the new theme. So I'm sitting with the new theme. But what do you think about it?
I think it's half finished. And I think part of the problem was that the beta testers pissed off White Tie during the development, and because there was some heated arguments in there.
So real quick for our listeners, White Tie is a user who has developed an absolutely gorgeous kind of console-looking theme for Reaper. And it's high resolution, so you have to run 1080p monitors to run it. Although he has a smaller version too, but it's very gorgeous. It's not my cup of tea. I like the standard Reaper look, so that's what's going on there. So
he's not just the user; he is part of the development team.
Oh, he is part of the development team.
Yeah, he handles, and he's also he makes a lot of plugin GUIs. So like all of the Stillwell plugins are him, and Focusrite's plugins, and lots of other stuff. if you look at houseofwhitetie.com, you can see, all the plugins that he's designed, or designed the graphics for. So he did, he does the theme, the official themes, and then all the back end coding for making this stuff work. Mm-hmm. So like the theme looks unfinished to me. If you if you have the counter and the BPM and the meters bar, it seems like there's missing some sort of graphics there to frame it, especially if you have
to kind of
the
delineate
transport separate from the everything else. Compare that to like the selection display. There's no black box around that.
Right.
And somehow that looks better. So it's somewhere between 3D and flat graphics. And a lot of people don't like the knob instead of fader. There are lots of different layouts for it. One of the layouts that looks the most interesting is called Session Mixer, and it doesn't work on my screen at all. Because the bottom section is all squished down into the bottom third, and then there's the sends and insert section. When you expand your mixer up, those expand faster than the bottom section. And for me, the faders section is more important, and I only need, room for about 6 to 8 plugins.
Right.
I don't need room for 100 plugins and 2 inches to move the faders.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
I find that too. I always find that there's a lot of space up above where the plugins and the inserts and sends are available. And what I want is to be able to have more fine control on the fader.
Yeah.
To make those changes.
So I dove in and I tried to edit the theme and fix that, and I failed miserably. So it's possible. I got close, but it's I'm just not experienced enough with editing themes.
Yeah, I want to be good at that, but I'm not.
Yeah,
I get into the files and I'm like, okay, I can make this work, and I just can't.
It's overwhelming, and it's a lot of, it's so much trial and error. But there's people that are good at it, and there's 1,000 themes you can choose from. You don't have to use the default theme. The default theme is more of a template for making your own themes with all the new features, rather than something that you have to use.
Right. Cool. It definitely does have that kind of flat feel to it. I noticed on my main mix bus, I have all of my outputs. So I have my main monitors, my studio feed, my headphones, and then on this session I have my Reaper feed to Skype. So, that is a very flat looking kind of system. I kind of like it. So I think there's definitely potential there. I hope they do kind of the next level of this. I hope they do like the next finished version of this theme. I'm excited for that, I think.
There's a lot of it that is that has it pops out with drop shadows, and there's a lot of stuff that is just totally flat. And those two things are opposites in graphic design.
Not quite
so
as
it's
consistent,
not. Yeah. So it's just a lot of consistency, a lot of inconsistency with the theme. But there's so many little features that they've added, making the Media Explorer more functional, being able to search every folder now instead of just the current folder. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's really helpful. And I read something about also the Media Explorer now playing through the track that you're on.
Yes. And you can set it for the selected track or change. Yeah, you can change the routing.
The way it was before was crazy because I'd always play the little clip and it would come through some other output that was the default, like my main monitors when I was on headphones, and it'd wake up my wife and she's like, "What are you doing? Why are we listening to cymbal crashes right now?"
Yeah. It doesn't go at the master channel. It goes out post the master, I guess. But right. It does. Something I noticed fairly recently was that it does go through your monitoring effects chain. So if you have metering plugins, you can see those
right
moving based on what you're playing in the Media Explorer.
Or if you're terrible like me and you run your reverb right on the master bus. I'm kidding, of course. Anyway, well, any big issues you've run into so far with Reaper 5? Is it a worthwhile upgrade if you're on 4? Should you pay the extra $60 to upgrade to 5?
I think it's worth it. Well, I mean, I got like 5 years worth of use out of version 3 and 4, so I'm totally happy with. I would be happy with spending $60 or more every year because I think it's worth that. So I think the upgrade is a no-brainer. The features that I use most are for video editing because I do so many videos for the Reaper blog.
Are you now doing your video editing on Reaper? For the
yeah,
Reaper
absolutely.
blog? Oh man, that's my next thing is I want to get into the video editing side of it and really get that working and learn how to do that because I find that interesting. I think that would be fun.
So again, that's something that's kind of unfinished. The video processor plugin has no graphics. You know, it's a scripting box. Like you type in code, and you have to kind of rely on other users to make the presets for you. Because there's not a lot of documentation on how what the video processor is capable of. Because it's just tapping into something to do something, and so you can't do white balance corrections and color, a lot of color adjustments. You can kind of you can get a preset and then start typing in different numbers and see what the results are. And I've kind of figured things out that way, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of documentation on that. And just to make things easier for myself, I've made a bunch of different presets for using text. So I I'll just type in the font that I want and then tweak some of the things so that it's in the center or there's a background. Like right now we can only do white, somewhere between white and black colors for the text. Not a huge deal. Those are the two colors you're going to use most often.
Yeah, if you're running, multicolors on every one, we're like back into the late 1980s, early 1990s.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, but that's one obvious limitation for text editing with this. So that's kind of unfortunate. And the crazy thing about the video editing in Reaper is that it exports faster than Premiere.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I exported something last night. It was going at 0.8 real time. So that's pretty good that's impressive for compressed video format.
I think I use, what is it called? Movie Edit Pro is my main edit.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, nobody has. But it does pretty well with high definition video, and it's as slow as it can possibly be as far as editing. I'll set it up and I will go and eat lunch, do the dishes, do some laundry, talk to my boys, and then come back and then go do that all again to get my video out. Anyway, well, I am super excited about Reaper 5 especially. I think it was a couple of months ago. I was like, man, I wonder when that's going to come out. I'm really excited about it. It probably won't be for a long time because they're so incremental. And really, I agree with you. This is an incremental release, but a big one, especially with the video editing and the VST3 and the new theme. I think those three things are really good, but kind of we're waiting for them to maybe see the next iteration of all three of those.
I'd really like to see more plugins, updated design on the plugins, more features. The most I've got them to do to change the plugins over the years is change the some of the terminology on something. Let me find this in Reverb. There was something I got them. Impulse response generation is the new thing. It used to be impulse generation on it.
Yeah. So that's what they changed.
It's something that's just wrong. on every level.
I think for me, like the big thing I would like to see changed is a good reverb plugin. And reverb is fantastic if you have the impulses.
Yeah.
And I have used it tons. But reverberate has a lot to be desired. I can
Yeah.
tweak it to where I want it to be, but instead I reach for Valhalla Room and just kind of forget about it.
Yeah, maybe that's kind of what all the plugins that are available in Reaper are good enough to get you through. Like, I could get rid of all my third-party plugins and still get decent mixes, but I wouldn't want to live without Valhalla Room or Vintage Verb, and some of my Sound Toys plugins. And I think Reaper needs more like saturation plugins. They need, people expect to see a fancy graphic. They want like vintage dirt on the V meters and all that.
Yeah, definitely.
All that stuff. It totally makes things sound better.
Yeah, it totally does. Especially when you have clients looking over your shoulder.
Yeah.
You're like, and now we're going to turn this knob. Oh yeah, that sounds better. That definitely is a thing. I agree with.
Well, there's things like I'd like RIA delay to do real ping pong, to be able to route the audio within redelay instead of you can sort of get ping pong, but it's not actually like the right channel feeding into the left channel.
Right.
It's two separate taps.
Yeah, definitely.
Off of the same input. So there's things like that are kind of missing.
When I tell people about Reaper, I'm like, it is the most amazing DAW that is low price so that you can spend your money on the effects and the instruments that you really want. And I kind of emphasize that, like, you're going to have to buy some effects, like a reverb plugin and a delay plugin that you really like, and a saturation, that you really like. And there's no virtual instruments. So you're not going to get an organ with this or any kind of synth that is usable, really. So you need to look for those elsewhere.
Yeah, and I think no matter what DAW you're using, you're going to be tempted by those things anyways.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
I like that Reaper's so cheap that doesn't hurt as much when I go to buy an instrument.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
You can still spend $200 or $300, and every year, like you would be if you were buying Pro Tools, but you can get tons of third party plugins.
Yeah, definitely.
With that money.
Yeah, and those last forever. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So let's talk third party plugins, like stuff that I recommend that's low cost.
Yeah, I think
I love
really
the Tone
helpful.
Boosters stuff.
I keep looking at the Tone Boosters and I keep wanting to pull the trigger, and I don't. I used the JB free plugins for a while. The guy who developed for those, something Brian Bart, I think it was his name. And
Joran Breibart, I think was his
something like
name.
that. And I really like those, but I haven't pulled the trigger on the Tone Boosters yet. Which ones do you suggest people kind of jump on first off?
Well, there's the Essentials bundle, which is like, I think it comes to about $25, and you get 6 or 8 different plugins. EQ, compressor, a reverb, de-esser, and I use the de-esser all the time. Usually the default setting works fine on almost everything I do. Everything I've thrown it on, it's usually worked just fine. I really like the EQ because it does some things that Re-EQ doesn't. Mm-hmm. Those are my 2 go-to EQs, and TB equalizer does mid-side processing built in, and different display modes so you can see your mid and side channels or your left and right in a real-time analyzer. And it seems to, the scale of the grid seems to favor low frequencies.
Okay.
There's just more space on the screen.
Yeah, with
given
RIA
to low
EQ,
frequencies.
there's not a lot of room down there. It's squished together a little bit.
And then different. There's a lot more band modes available. Plus, I think it does an auto makeup gain now in some of the more recent ones. The Essentials bundle used to have the one called EasyQ, which is just a grid, like a XY controller that gives you different tones depending on which quadrant you're in.
Oh, cool.
And you just click and drag, and I found that to be the absolute best guitar solo EQ because you could just notch something in there and get settings that would be totally extreme or look extreme on a normal EQ, but you just click and drag and listen to it in the mix, and it sounds right every time.
Yeah. I don't see that on their website now, so that may not be available anymore.
I think they took it out.
Yeah.
Or he took it out. It's it's one of those companies that it's one developer and he's making good stuff and it's totally worth the money. I also have
how was the reverb on that one? On that let's see, the Track Essentials.
I don't love it. It does one or two. There's like one or two presets that I like a lot.
Okay.
I use it if I want like kind of a crappy sounding reverb, to be honest.
Wait, but you have Reverberate.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Sorry.
His Real Bus plugin is a tape emulation, like a tape machine.
Okay.
And it's on the more subtle side of that genre of plugins. He also has Ferox, which is in the Essentials bundle, and that one's a little more extreme. I like that for like distorting basses, but Real Bus I like for like a fat glue sound. I'll put that on most of my stems, so drums, bass, vocals, all those sort of things, and on the master.
Okay.
It's subtle enough. It's subtle enough you can do that, but it adds enough that it's definitely worth the CPU cost and all that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Okay, so
I've never run into a bug or a crash with his plugins.
That's a very special thing.
Yeah,
that doesn't happen with everyone. What else do you like to do? What else is cheap that you like as far as plugins go?
The audio damage plugins are fun. They're pretty good. They're definitely fun, and if you're into like electronic music production, I think they're pretty awesome. I'm just going through some of my stuff. I've recently like reinstalled my operating system, so I actually don't have a lot installed right now.
Yeah, I'm actually doing the full cross grade to 64-bit. So I'm getting rid of the 32-bit plugins I don't use and trying to like just kind of figure out what it is I use on a regular basis. And for me, I love the Stillwell stuff. So I have several of their compressors and a couple of their EQs, and those are a lot of fun to use. And they've got that great look to them, that vintagey look to them that looks great when you bring it up on your monitor. So that's good company. And then the other one for me that I really enjoy is Klanghelm. I don't know if you've ever used any of their stuff.
I use the VU meter.
The VU meter.
But I haven't bought the other ones. The VU meter is awesome. It's one of the best, for sure.
Yeah, I'll have to download it. I think it's actually a free plugin.
I think it's $12 US. But
it is, yeah.
That's always on my monitoring effects chain. Ian Shepard recommended it because at the time there weren't really any good VU meters, and for his home mastering masterclass course, having that is kind of one of the essentials.
Yeah.
Or having an adjustable VU meter, or where you can set the calibration. And so in his home mastering masterclass, having a VU meter is totally essential and lets you do so much with volume matching and making sure you have equal levels for and a target for all your processing.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, that would be definitely one to pick up. And as usual, they have like 4 or 5 different modes or 2 or 3 different modes. And Klanghelm they do that a lot, where it's the same plugin, but they've got different modes that actually have different GUIs to them as well. And so every time I buy one of theirs, I feel like I'm getting like 3 plugins in one. Even though it's really the same thing, it just feels a little bit different.
Yeah,
for me.
And I guess the other small company that makes the best stuff is Valhalla DSP.
Yeah.
What Sean does is just amazing. All the plugins are worth getting. You can spend $200, get all of his plugins, and they're just the best.
Yeah, Valhalla Room ends up on every single one of my mixes. So it's definitely one to get. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, Shimmer is great if you do sound design.
I'll have to take a look at that. I've been looking at that kind of plugin for a while, and I just haven't pulled the trigger. So every I have to talk to my wife, make sure it's okay.
I mean, you could always combine plugins to get similar results. You could take reverb and a delay and read delay and read pitch, and you could probably get something similar. Enable feedback loops in your project settings, and then route it back into itself, and you can probably get that sort of evolving epic and ambient reverb. I forgot the word. To like, hit one piano note and have it sustain forever, but constantly evolve.
Right. Yeah. No, that's awesome. All right. Well, we got a couple questions for you real quick before we leave. These are just one-off answers. What is your favorite mic right now that you like to use in the studio?
SM7B gets the most use because I use it every day for making the Reaper blog videos and podcasts and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's a great bang for buck.
Yeah. You guys definitely convinced me that large diaphragm dynamics were awesome. So now I have 3, and they're just so much fun. And every time I go looking at mics, I'm like, I want another one. But what for? I don't know. They're really cool.
I'll throw out another low cost condenser. The CAD M179 is a multi-pattern. I think it's a FET condenser.
I believe that's true.
And they are pretty cheap. I got one ridiculously cheap. I think I got it for like $60.
That's used. Yeah. I think they
that
normally
was
run about
by a drumstick,
$130, $140, somewhere around there. So
the grill was broken off from a drumstick when I got it, but the capsule was clean, so I was happy, and it sounds really good on my voice as well.
Oh,
so,
great! That's very awesome.
I really like it in bidirectional mode. So great that now I can finally record in MS and stuff like that.
Yeah. I got some ribbons to do that. That was a lot of fun. Your favorite preamp?
The Golden Age Project Pre 73. I wish I had a second one. I've got the old version, but I would definitely buy a second one.
Interesting. That's cool. And your favorite piece of non-studio gear?
Non-studio gear.
Like stuff that you use that's not really studio gear.
Having a look around. Stuff that I use in the studio that's not studio gear. Colored Christmas lights.
Yes, that is awesome. I love that. Well, John, thank you so much. This has been a wonderful way to spend 45 minutes with you, and I think that I wish I could just impress on everyone how great Reaper is, but also how great your blog is. Go to the reaperblog.net and watch the videos. It really will help you on your way to becoming a master at your craft. And I'm just thankful that you're putting this stuff together.
Yeah, and hopefully I'll have some sort of comprehensive packages that people can purchase and learn better.
Well, we'll let you write that script before we buy it, and we'll go from there. All right. Thanks, John.
This has been a lot of fun, so thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah,
on.
no problem. Thanks. John Tidey is a great guy. I loved talking to him. He was just very nice. And actually, we started the interview and I totally botched the name of his website. He's like, just start over. He's like, we don't do that. Okay, I'll just start over.
You should have told him our rule. The rule of talking about noise is once you say it, it never goes away.
Yeah,
it is out there.
He told me that he does the home recording show, which is one of the greatest podcasts for what we do. And he told me it takes him 3 or 4 hours to edit the show. And I was like, whoa, that's amazing. And I can see why. It's very well edited. It's a very good show. But we're cowboys here. We're just running and gunning, and whatever ends up on the show is what ends up on the show. And
it's my motto in life. If it comes out of my mouth, I own it.
Yeah.
Gets me in a lot of trouble. Sleep on the couch a lot, but I don't care. Whatever comes out, it's out there.
Yeah. That's how we run our lives.
That's how we
Just
ruin
how it
our
goes.
lives.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's how we ruin our lives. All right. Well, let's get to some picks of the week.
All right.
Who's your pick of the week, Eric?
So my pick of the week is a band from the UK called Foals. So that song is called What Went Down.
Nice.
So they're emerging into the United States.
So
I figured
what would you call that genre? Kind of
alternative rock.
alternative rock
We'll call it
with a punk influence, maybe? It felt a little punkish, a little bit,
kinda.
right?
Yeah. We'll call it neo-punk Aphrodite indie rock.
Holy smokes. That's awesome.
Yeah, I just threw that out there.
I absolutely love that.
Beautiful.
That's so great.
Anyway, thought I'd give them a little push. Everyone support Foals. They look pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, they're jumping in the U.S. just like the Beatles did.
Nice.
Kind of. Maybe not.
Maybe not.
All right, you go. Whatever.
All right. So my pick of the week is a band called High/Low. And they've got several good stuff up on Noise Trade, but just really a great rock band. Really fun to listen to.
Oh, awesome.
And that's it.
Love them already.
Yeah, you totally should. If you are a new listener and you want to reach out to us, reach out for a little touch. We can do that. Just contact us either via the website.
A totally non-creepy touch, we swear.
Email, we are talking about noise@gmail.com. Twitter, you can reach me at Artmore Studios. You can reach Eric at I am the Swoop.
Swoop.
And follow us on the website and subscribe.
And remember, so we're all about breaking down music so we can learn more stuff, right?
That's right. We break down
if-
production techniques. We break down music that we've written, that other people have written.
Yeah.
We just
So-
try to
so-
bring the information to you.
If you would like to present a song on the podcast, we'd love to, listen to it, break it down, tell you
Yeah.
what we think.
We love to tear things apart, and
It's like Legos.
yeah, we will definitely do that.
Someone builds a tower, I go in and kick it.
You're
kick
so
it.
mean, dude.
No, I meant like Beastie Boys stuff. Like, kick.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Sure.
anyway.
Yeah,
shut
mean
up
as
then.
can be. Anyways, we're out of here.
All right, have a great week.
We'll talk to you later. Bye.